Well, while Pat Owino have spotted a potential meal, you can see down here in South Africa, Thandi, the female leopard, is tucking in to a massive impala male that she has just stolen from her daughter, Tlalamba. I cannot believe that she's just run in and chased her daughter like she did. Hopefully Tlalamba is still around here somewhere. There was a bit of a scuffle, and then the two of them kind of ran away, and then Thandi came back. Now, my name is Tristan, and on camera I have got Senzo this evening, and it is really, really special to have you here, particularly when we've got two leopards in one place. It is absolutely phenomenal to have these two leopards together, and hopefully Tlalamba will come back. As I was saying just now, it is her daughter. So even though Thandi is the mother, she still kind of has somewhat of a tie to little Tlalamba. Tlalamba is now getting to the point where she's around sort of 18 months of age and should be leaving her mother. And so that separation is starting to happen, and that's why there's a bit of aggression between the two of them. And look at that stare. Isn't that incredible? Absolutely amazing to be able to be in the darkness like this and to be with one of Africa's most elusive cats and see them go to work and be able to feed off a carcass like this and interact with one another is seriously special. And I'm hoping, like I say, that little Tlalamba is still close by. She was sitting on a termite mound resting, and her mother came out of nowhere, and there was a huge scuffle. And there was lots and lots of dust and fur and claws, and then Tlalamba ran up a tree and Thandi came trotting back to the kill. Now, James, you say lots of felines to start season 2. Indeed, we are very fortunate. It seems as though all the cats are out, both in Mara and here in South Africa. We are very, very, very lucky, and especially when we get to spend time with these cats. But you can see every now and then she feeds, and then she just pops her head up to look, and that's because she's looking for where her daughter is in case her daughter starts to come back. Now, don't go anywhere, because we're going to go for a short break. Hopefully when you come back, little Tlalamba will also be here. Right, well, that was absolute pandemonium about 2 minutes before we started off this evening's proceedings and our show. The Thandi came out of nowhere, and there was a serious scuffle. It was a proper fight. It wasn't, oh, here come the hyenas. Look, here they're coming in. They're going to steal this kill for sure. They've heard Thandi is around, and they've come in and stolen the kill. Now, I'm just watching where Thandi goes. She's run off, unfortunately, and not exactly what we expected is the hyenas coming in. But if we had any doubt that Thandi and Tlalamba are no longer looking after each other, we know now, because, well, as we've seen, unfortunately, Thandi has chased Tlalamba off, and it was very aggressive. It wasn't just a chuffing and a nice sort of mother-daughter time. It was seriously aggressive. Right, I'm going to just hold off speaking for a little bit so you can hear the audio, and we're going to come out of our ad break shortly. Welcome back live. As you can see, our leopard unfortunately has been disposed. The hyenas, the Djuma clan, have run in here and they have taken this kill. Thandi has run, Tlalamba has gone, and now it's a feast for these two hyenas. And you'll see the way that they feed is so different to what we saw from those leopards. The leopards were meticulous and slow feeding, whereas these guys, they just chomp down huge chunks of meat and they will devour this carcass within minutes. It's not going to take them very long to be able to take huge chunks off of it. Now, I'm not sure where Thandi went. I don't think she would have gone far. Often when a leopard is disposed of its kill, then generally they don't go too far away, because they know sometimes hyenas get full and there might be a piece that they can scavenge and take away. But this is absolutely ridiculous. This is the best start we could have asked for to our season 2 proceedings. To have 2 leopards, 2 hyenas, a kill and kind of a takeover is absolutely insane. Now, because it's so insane, I want to know from all of you in the form of one word on Twitter. You can do hashtag Safari Live. What would your word be to describe the situation? If you were sitting in my shoes right now, how would you feel in one word? It really is unbelievable to have animals like this, and to have this playing out right in front of us is incredibly special. Now you can see the frenzying is slowing down a little bit now that they kind of realize they've got enough food for each other. They'll slow down in their feeding. At first it's just this chaotic kind of grabbing and pulling out all of the intestines and everything else. Right. Now, Thandi was sitting feeding here, and I was briefly explaining to you that she's the sort of queen of this area and the mother of Tlalamba. But let's send you across to find out a little bit more about our queen. Well, Thandi most definitely is the queen. She is a spectacular leopard. I've had the privilege of following her for the better part of 9 years, and she really is a phenomenal individual and has been super successful in terms of being a leopard and being a mother. And her motherly duties to Tlalamba are now over, which means that I'm pretty sure she's going to be starting to come into an estrus, if not pregnant already. Her response to Tlalamba just now was one of aggression, not one of motherly love, and I think that bond is broken down now, and the two of them have separated out. And once they separate out, they become almost enemies more than a mother and daughter relationship. Could also be that Tlalamba and Thandi didn't know who it was, and that's why there was that brief sort of altercation. Maybe they'll come back together and realize who each other is, and it will calm down. Firefly, your one-word tweet is spectacular. Well, it doesn't get any better than that. Seriously, to start off an evening like this and to be able to see this kind of behavior is very special. It doesn't happen all the time at all. Absolutely amazing. Now you could see how these hyenas are just dismembering this carcass. It really is being torn apart. And unfortunately, those leopards, when they had this carcass, was too big for them to hoist, too heavy as it was still too whole, and so the hyenas have come in and taken over. Right, now from the macabre and the hyenas feeding off of this carcass, let's send you up to Kenya and to Scott, who a few months ago had the sweetest little sighting
of Djuma himself walking down the road just in front of us. His name is Tingana, and well, there you can see him in the IR light. It's not very clear, but if we go over to the thermal, the FLIR, you'll see this beautiful image of an orange cat walking down the middle of the road. And you can see him walking. He just scent marked a moment before, and just before you came to us, he gave out his very loud, rasping, territorial call. So we're going to follow him for a bit, and I'm sure we're going to get him to call again. So let's move on up ahead, and we're going to have to go back to the IR camera as we move.
Well, as you can see, still chaos when it comes to hyenas. They're busy feeding and going crazy. A third one has joined, so lots and lots of feeding, and there will be nothing left of that carcass, unfortunately. And then to our left is Tlalamba and Thandi that are just growling at each other at the moment. So they're sitting somewhere there. It's a bit difficult to see. There's Tlalamba. She's kind of sitting, looking. I think it's Tlalamba that's there. Was that Thandi? No, that's Thandi that's with us. And then Tlalamba is in that bush to the left of her. You can't see her nicely. Every now and then you just see her eyes coming through. And so they're both there, and you'll see some growling take place every now and then. Is that Thandi or Tlalamba?
It's Tlalamba, that's right.
Tlalamba, that's there. Sorry, I thought it was Thandi for a second, but it's Tlalamba. That's there. Thandi's also around as well. Sure, chaos, really. Everything is out. Tingana and hyenas, and I wouldn't be surprised Tingana comes here with all the noise these hyenas have made over the last little bit. That's for sure. Incredible, really. Can you hear the bones crunching? I'm just going to stay quiet because the sound is so incredible, and we are going to come out of ad shortly, so I'm going to leave you guys to hear it. welcome back live. As you can see, the action has not died down at all. We still have the hyenas feeding. In fact, a third hyena has arrived, and I'm just going to keep quiet for a few seconds so you can hear the power of their jaws crunching these bones. Now, of course, they would stop crunching the bones because I asked you to hear it. It's pretty typical. Hear the squeaks as well. Now that's just between them kind of arguing over who gets what part of this impala. Now, Rosalind, do the leopards around here fight each other? Yes, they do. And in fact, the two leopards are on our left-hand side at the moment. So the hyenas are there, and just to our left of the car are where the two leopards are. And in fact, these two leopards have, well, not the younger one, so that's the younger one that we see there. Her mother is off to the left, and her mother has had some serious fights in her time where she's fought with rival females, and they'll have serious consequences to that. Anytime a big cat fights, when they've got sharp claws, sharp teeth, there can be a lot of damage that can be done. And so leopards do fight. It's more the males than the females that will go after each other, but females do have territorial fights as well. Now, you might be able to just make out the other female. She's kind of tucked into the bush on the left side of that female in that little thicket. Every now and then we just catch a glint of her eye as it reflects that infrared light, and the two of them are kind of lying about 3 meters apart with lots of growling that's been taking place between the two of them. But I think they're starting to realize that they know each other, and that's why there's not as much aggression as there initially was. So hopefully everything will calm down a little bit. The hyenas are going to finish off this impala kill, and then hopefully the leopards will come out and we'll get to see the two of them. Now, we've been sitting watching the poor leopards lose their food and the hyenas devour it. And, well, look at that. Look, you see she's growling? So she's hissing at her mother. And her mother's growling back. Right, and I was saying that these guys have had a meal and they've all gotten some food. But Pat, as we know, was following their weanos as they were eyeing out some buffalo. And I wonder what happened next.
Always expect the unexpected, and that's all I'm going to say about Pat's Owino buffalo hunt. And of course, it's something that Tristan has experienced this evening. You're back live watching the drama of the hyena and the two leopards play out from the sky. Can you believe it? For this season 2, we have brought in an extra special piece of technology as the days get shorter and our drives continue into the night. We're going to be assisted by the visuals of a thermal drone. My name is Jamie, and my extraordinary cameraman and pilot is Sebastian. And we're watching what's going on from the drone right now. So the thermal drone picks up on the body heat of the animals. And if you look very carefully, you can see those shining white shapes. Now that over there is the hyenas. And you can see them in amongst the sort of the yellows and seasons. So the poor leopards lost out on their meal, I think largely because Thandi decided to steal from her daughter. Now you do look, there's a leopard moving in. Right, we're not going to keep you in there any longer. We're going to send you across to Tristan, who is there in person.
Well, yes, Thandi is off after where the hyenas have dragged the impala carcass, and we're sitting with her daughter, Tlalamba, who's managed to find a little piece of her carcass that has not been pilfered once, but has been pilfered twice tonight. Unfortunately for this little female, she was the one that made the actual kill, and she ate it, and then her mother came and stole it, and then after that, the 3 hyenas, which is insane. But she's also a spectacular little female, and I'm so impressed with her because this meal is absolutely massive. We weren't sure what the biggest kind of size meals she would be able to catch, and we've been seeing her catch much smaller animals, so things like duikers and scrub hares, but this is the first really substantial kind of meal that we've got. Now you might notice that there's a spotlight that's going around. Now that's just for people that are out here in the Sabi Sands that are on holiday, so we do have tourism in this area, and unfortunately, unlike us who's got the ability to see, now what's this here? Here's a hyena right here. That's just creeped up on us. So there's a hyena coming from our right-hand side, and it's probably heard this leopard eating. So you can see there the hyena goes. Full tummy. But how spectacular is this? We are super fortunate to be able to see this. Anyway, we're going to keep sitting here. It's still chaos that's unfolding. And in the meantime, I'm going to send you back up to Lauren in the Masai Mara, who's got the king of the beast. And I wonder if he's going to make some noise. As you can see, Tlalamba is now up and moving, and she's looking in the distance. She's heading in the direction of where her mom is, and those other hyenas dragged off the rest of the carcass. So she's managed to kind of come right past the car. As you can see there, isn't that so special? There's a leopard literally right behind us. So I'm just going to put on a light so I can just see that she doesn't kind of jump onto our side of the car as she kind of disappears. But absolutely spectacular to have them this close. We are super fortunate. Right, now we're going to keep trying to follow her. She's heading into a really dense thicket at the moment. Her mother has headed this way, and so I'm hoping that the two of them will kind of interact a little bit more again, and it'll be kind of give us an indication of just how much the relationship has eroded. Oh, Bombo girl, essentially the reason they're growling at each other is because the relationship between mother and daughter is now eroding. At 18 months old, Thandi is starting to leave Tlalamba to go and breed again. All right, she might have bred already, she might have mated already, she might be pregnant, or she's starting to kind of set up a territory where she's going to start breeding. And so that means it's time for Tlalamba to move off. It's time for her to go and set up her own territory, and that is why you're getting growling and interaction between them. Now you see she's coming back to us. Luckily it seems like there's no wounds or anything like that, given that the two of them kind of had a bit of a scuffle. I'm quite glad that there isn't any sign of any sort of, well, problems or anything like that. It's good that they didn't kind of manage to cut each other up or anything. Right, we're going to keep up with these two leopards. Hopefully we'll get a lot more interaction between them. In the meantime, though, let's see what played out between Pat's eternal enemies all those months ago. Well, hello everybody. We had Tingana sitting here beautifully in front of us for the last 5 minutes, and of course now he's decided to go back around the bush. Okay, so we're just going to follow him along this pathway. He's probably going to pop out again.
Welcome back live again, everybody. We are still with Tingana, the Duke of Djuma, who is continuing to scent mark as he moves along. We're just going to keep up with him here because he's moving along this very nice sort of game path up ahead of us here. But he did stop for a moment and was staring into the darkness at something, but we couldn't quite make out what it was. So he looked at it for a period of time and then he stopped looking at it altogether. And he's just coming out onto the road on my left-hand side. We'll be able to come around this corner and he's most likely going to walk straight down this road. Leopards are creatures of habit and they will utilize roads as this big game path we just utilized here.
Said always expect the unexpected, and in this particular case the buffalo got away, leaving the Owino pride hungry. You're watching a herd of impala live from the sky through our thermal drone. And of course, they too face a constant battle for survival out here. Whether it is faced with the leopards like the ones you saw, hyenas, and of course lions. So that's why Seb and myself have flown down in this direction to the south. Earlier on, we were using the drone in order to be able to watch the situation with Tristan play out. But we also use it to look for animals. And there was a pride of lions moving in that direction earlier this afternoon. So we've headed up into the sky to have a look and see. All we've spotted so far is those impala. But that's what we use the drone for mostly, is to search for animals in the darkness and then, of course, guide the other vehicles back into that area.
Well, as you can see, things have calmed down to a panic at this stage. You can see that Tlalamba is in some very long grass and is just grooming herself now and getting rid of any little bits of flesh or meat or dust and dirt that she might have accumulated through all of that chaos, and is just starting to rest. Thandi is somewhere behind us in a very dense thicket. We kind of couldn't really see her. We could just make out her ear. Seemed as though she managed to kind of find or follow the hyenas, and I don't know if she managed to get a piece of the kill, but she certainly was sniffing about in that area, and the hyenas have since disappeared. We haven't seen them. But what is interesting is while we're sitting here, we've been hearing alarm calls further north of us. So there could be another predator that is not far from where we are, but definitely not these two, because they were both in visual when we saw those, when we heard those alarm calls happening. Now, Bridge, you say, so glad to have this show back on SABC. Well, it's excellent that you enjoy it. It's really nice for us to be back. It's always so wonderful to share the diversity of Africa with fellow Africans. And so it's super important for us, and we really enjoy bringing the wonder of nature, both in Kenya and in South Africa, to South African television. So I'm glad that you enjoy it, and I'm hoping that you'll join us for the rest of the season, because it promises to be an incredible sort of season. If anything is to go by from tonight, then we should have lots and lots and lots in store over the next few weeks. It's going to be interesting too, because we're going to start heading into the winter months, which makes things a lot harder for some animals. The herbivores start to really battle as the grass starts to die back and vegetation dies, and the predators start to come into their own. And as water disappears, we're going to start to see a lot more movement to those water holes, and that means that we're going to get a lot of interaction between both predator and prey, and predators versus predators. So it should be an epic 13 weeks, that's for sure. And you can see Tlalamba is still very wide-eyed, though. She's still watching what is going on as she sort of sees and checks out if there's any other oncoming threats. I suppose she had a bit of a blitzkrieg from the fact that she had, hyenas and another leopard all arrive pretty much as the sun went down. But luckily, both leopards seem to have at least got a bit of a meal, and the hyena certainly benefited as well. But as I said, it's been an absolute bumper evening. Unfortunately, it's that time where we're going to need to start saying goodbye. I hope that you enjoyed the lions of the Mara, the leopards down here in Djuma. And so from all of us, it's been an absolute pleasure, and we hope to see you next week on SABC3 at 6:30. Bye for now.